That's exactly right, Talia. What our team did at Bitwise was we zoomed out and we surveyed the Bitcoin and crypto market. And we said there's no institutions out here putting out long-term capital market assumptions. Yet every other asset class has asset managers putting these projections out. And so what we did was we dug into the historical data for Bitcoin. We looked at correlations, we looked at volatility, we looked at returns, and then we looked out into the future and we said, what do we think is going to happen over the next decade for Bitcoin? What trends do we think will persist? What tailwinds do we see? And of course, one of those very, very strong tailwinds is the regulatory pivot that we're seeing in Washington, D.C. with this new administration, which is a stark contrast from the regulatory environment that Bitcoin's operated under for the past decade, and is very different than how investors have been thinking about Bitcoin over the past decade because of that regulatory environment. And there's a number of other tailwinds that we see for Bitcoin, but regulatory environment is a huge one, as well as institutional adoption. We really had this 0 to 1 moment last year with the launch of Bitcoin ETPs. That was accelerated by the regulatory pivot in DC. We've seen that accelerate into this year. It's why Bitcoin's been one of the best performing assets of the year. And we don't believe those trends are going to slow down. And that's why we have a $1.3 million forecast over the next decade for Bitcoin.